What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Tatum in Scream 5, but not just her, but other potential cameos as well. Honestly, this I think has a lot more implications than just one person, although obviously that's kind of what this is centered around. So I saw this from Scream Obsessed Twitter. Great guy, and you'll be seeing a little bit of him very soon on the channel. Don't want to give it away, but he posted out that there was a super fan who made a poster for the original Scream and tagged pretty much everybody over on Instagram. Okay, so it looks really great. I actually really like the poster that they made. But Rose McGowan actually responded, and she tends to do this. I would say not really quite often, but she tends to do it. So basically, the person said love Tatum so much, so I processed the poster, and this person tagged everybody, and then she responded and said, "Scream 5 is financed, produced, distributed by Kevin Williamson, who resurrected the monstrous named Miramax. He was there every step of the way, and they've reached out for me to have a cameo by voice. How quaint, how charming, how noble. Enjoy your movie." And then she also went on to say, I think in the same kind of thing, that Weinstein had her removed from the original poster. So here's the deal. I don't think it's a flat out no that she didn't do it. I talked a little bit to Scream Obsessed, on Twitter, and we kind of said, he said that he believes that kind of solidifies that she's not in it. I said, I'm a little bit maybe more optimistic on that sense, and he made some really good points to me. He was saying how based off of the way she has talked in the past and she does talk now, including, she literally, at first you kind of read it maybe as a good thing, oh, it's financed, produced, distributed by Kevin Williamson, but then she resurrected the monstrous name Miramax, so she's connecting him to evil, so that's not a good sign. And then there's maybe the simple fact of well, why would she be able to talk about it if she actually did it, right? However, the whole how quaint, how charming, how noble, enjoy your movie, I guess you could read that as insanely sarcastic, or maybe that's how she actually feels about it. It's interesting wording for sure. I would say this, I guess, too, there's really nothing I can do to counter probably that first point. I think that's a good point. I would say she is, from what I've seen of her in interviews and just how she acts, I feel like she is a give no F's kind of attitude, right? She doesn't care anymore. So, I mean, obviously, if anybody's in this movie for a specific reason like that, they're for sure not allowed to say it, but she could very well be, in a situation in her life, which it seems like she's been in for a while, where she just could care less that, that maybe she did do something and she doesn't care. She's going to talk about it anyway. So, one can only hope. But the thing is, I do believe her. I guess the bigger thing than all of this stuff is, do you believe her when she says they've reached out to her to have a cameo by voice? Now, that's very important as well, right? A voice cameo in the movie. Honestly, this to me opens the floodgate. Now, you could be doing this for some sort of Dewey thing, because it's a commonly known thing, I guess, in these movies, right? That Dewey, he never really ever says or thinks or anything related to Tatum, even though, she was his sister who died. That never ends up happening. So maybe if this movie goes down some sort of avenue for Dewey, you can kind of link it there. The first thing I think of is just linking it to the original. That's she is in the original movie, and that's it. But and again, you could link it to a specific character, even honestly, even Sydney. You know what I mean? You really could do it because she was kind of the original best friend. You know what I mean? So it doesn't actually have to be connected to Dewey. It could be connected to Sydney. However, it could just be first movie in general, which opens the floodgates, I would say, for everybody else. If you're gonna have her by voice, that's another thing too. Why by voice? So does that mean? That's tough, right? Because we've talked about flashbacks, we've talked about kind of hauntings, which are tough, and I don't necessarily want them to play around with, because that can be messed up, I would say, pretty easily. But something where Sydney is kind of reliving her past, and it is a blend of seeing events play out again, but maybe just hearing voices or hearing ghosts in that way. But really, it's just kind of hearing the past. You know what I mean? Hearing memories. I honestly feel like either of those would be very good options for this, and so you would have her. I think there were rumors I've seen from a couple people online that have said, like, Jamie Kennedy, he was trying to get himself back into Scream 5. I would say, well, and I guess get back into, we don't really know in like how much or how little, right? But if they reached out to her to do voice work, I really feel like he is a very easy candidate to bring back in some shape or form as well. I think it opens the door for like Billy and Stu as well. And again, it's hard to know because we don't really know context. If we're talking about characters that relate to other characters, you know what I mean? Stuff like really solid connections. Then I think Billy would make a lot of sense to return through a voice for Sidney if we're assuming Tatum is kind of connected to Dewey. So it just depends kind of on how you can't. I mean, it's literally one line that she said on Instagram, right? It's really hard to figure out. But I would say, if that's true, which I really don't think she has any reason to lie about that, I feel like there is a want to have some returning. I would say like returning faces. It's not actually returning faces. Well, I mean, it is. It's returning characters through their voice, but it does feel like a sense that they want that. You know what I mean? If you're going to bring Tatum back, why not bring the whole gang? And that's not to diminish her. I mean, I'd love for them to like recognize her as a character one of these days. But I think that makes sense. So again, I'm not sold on her not being in it. I'm definitely not sold on her. This isn't like 100% confirmation she's going to be in the movie. In fact, now what's going to be awkward or weird is I do think, again, this opens the floodgate. I would honestly, I don't know if I'd bet money. I'm not really a betting man, but Jamie Kennedy, I would be almost shocked if Randy wasn't, and I would go so far as to say in it, not a reminiscent, kind of thing where Sidney's talking about him. You know what I mean? We've talked actually in the past, like, how do you kind of pay respect to some of these characters? Some of the early ideas, like you could have simply a picture of like Kirby. Like, would that make sense to just have a picture of Kirby like hanging out? Like, you could do that. I would go so far to say, though, that if you reached out to Rose McGowan for a voice, I would say Jamie Kennedy makes a lot of sense for Randy. Billy and Stu immediately kind of come up if we're connecting it to Scream 1 in that way. But yet again, when that happens, and I do think now it's going to happen, now actually more sure than before, now if she's not, if this post was basically her admitting to, yeah, they asked me, but I turned it down. Well, that's the other thing, too. I guess maybe I could use the same argument. Again, I'm not picking on Scream Obsessed. I think it's a good conversation. Maybe you could use the same argument against him where it's like, well, if they offered it to you and you take it, and you probably can't discuss it. However, I would also argue you probably wouldn't be able to discuss it either way. If they offered you the role and said, okay, we want you as a but this is top secret, right? Because none of this stuff is going to get out. Top secret, we want you to come back. We want you to voice Tatum basically in some flashback memory, but we're not going to have faces, or maybe it's de-aging stuff and we're using somebody else, but like we want it to be your voice. And you say no. She says, no, I don't want to do that, right? Yeah, I hate the company, whatever. Okay, but there's still probably something in like the actor's code or an NDA or, whatever, that she's probably not allowed to say that they even reached out to her in the first place. You know what I mean? I honestly feel like that is a thing. I would even say like same thing. Let's go to Jamie Kennedy, right? He's got the YouTube channel. He does a ton of stuff, and he's a very transparent. It's actually why I really like him. He's a very, very transparent and honest guy. Respectful, all that stuff. I mean, if they came to him and he said, you know what? No, I'm not feeling it. I'm not going to do it. Do you think right now, 4 or 5 months before Scream comes out, he could go on YouTube and say, yeah, they pitched me the idea, and not too much details, but he wouldn't even be able to do that. Yeah, they pitched me the idea of coming back as Randy for a couple of voice lines, and I said no to it, and yeah, we're just gonna all kind of move on. Like, you can't say that. Like, that in it of itself is a spoiler. You know what I mean? So that's actually something I learned. I can't believe I thought of that, 6-7 minutes into the video, but that could be something right there that I think that above anything else probably shows she doesn't care regardless. So if she doesn't care regardless, yeah, she could have said no. She could have also said yes, and actually it doesn't matter. It doesn't actually change her honesty and breaking code, breaking NDA, stuff like that. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think she comes back? Do you think Randy, Billy, Stu, anybody else that even I didn't mention? Let me know. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. I have a special Scream video, I believe, going up tomorrow, depending on what day you guys are seeing all these videos. But, normal Scream videos every single Tuesday. Some fun stuff here and there on days that are not Tuesday, and we'll go from there, okay? If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, on my second channel, or support us on Patreon or YouTube YouTube memberships. The links for all of those things are in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all on the next video.